What's up, guys? It's Marcus with Metaphos, and today I really wanted to touch on a topic that's been pretty popular, especially amongst the current community, and that's why so many current players are quitting. Obviously, the video that blew up with Jess, but many others have followed, as well as talked about their complaints with current Yu-Gi-Oh! At this time, and I wanted to touch on it a little bit, as I kind of am having the opposite experience at the moment. I have a renewed love for this game. I did have many of the same complaints back when I had quit. So I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively at the end of 2011, when like Tengu Plants was the main deck of the format. And I mean, I sucked at the time, but over time, I thoroughly love the gameplay, like having to use trap cards, having to use all aspects of the game, I guess, trap spells, monsters, extra deck, everything just mattered. Every game was determined over the course of multiple turns, not just 2, 3, 4 turns. And the free design of the gameplay, while not being too powerful, really just made me love it more than any of the other card games I had played. But I guess somewhere along the line, I stopped falling in love with Current, or I guess fell out of love with Current, I should say. And that happened back in 2019 when I initially stopped playing the game. I had grinded and gotten really good, I'd say, by 2015, 2016. And at that point is when I started topping a lot of events. I had won a YCS, I had won an ARG. But by 2019, I'd noticed that too many games were determined by just what happened on the first turn of the game and the boards that were created. I believe at that time I had played at Nats, and it was back when like Orcus and Thunder Dragons were just so good. They'd end on a floodgate, multiple negates, a bunch of cards, and just going second was like a death sentence. And at that point I was like, I don't know, I lost a lot of joy for the game. And I had not played in a major event after 2019 Nats until 2022. And really, it was just like a pipe dream of trying to come back and win YCS Minneapolis in 2022, because I had won in 2016. But even then, I just didn't enjoy the game the same way that I did years prior for many years. That is until recently. As of the beginning of 2024, I've actually gone to two YCS Nationals and an RBET, but that's because now there's a competitive aspect of the game that is for Time Wizard events, specifically Edison format, and it's really reignited my love, and I know many other people's love for the game, because the major complaints with Current right now, and really I feel like it's kind of been this way for years in my personal opinion. Obviously there's blips where there is good formats since then, but I feel like majority of the time there's too many blanket effects. The decks are just too powerful, and going first is just way too important. It's like you better have a bunch of hand traps or crazy board breakers, otherwise you're just gonna auto lose. And so obviously the ceiling of the game is just too high. The hype for the game kind of died down a lot, and I think that kind of goes hand in hand with people just losing interest in current format. And then obviously prizing. Those are the biggest complaints, and currently Time Wizard events kind of beat Current in all three of those aspects. The game for Time Wizard, specifically Edison, like I said, has been growing steadily over the past year and a half, 2 years. I mean, heck, we would have had well over 500 people show up for Nationals had all the flights not been canceled for so many people. Like, I know like of like 10 or 11 people personally, so I can't even imagine how many people didn't end up getting to go because of the flight cancellations. But yeah, we would have had over 500 people for that. Every RBT Maryland was the biggest RBT to date. Every Time Wizard event's like slowly growing and having more and more. I believe the early ones had like 150, 180, and now they're like consistently like 250 plus. And the game's just growing so much for Edison. But it's because the hype around it is getting bigger and bigger. So many more people are coming to Edison to get that joy that Yu-Gi-Oh brings, because it's still that same complex game that's more free-flowing than a lot of the other card games that have like mana systems and stuff, or energy. But yeah, it has everything that I love about Yu-Gi-Oh, while also having better pricing, more hype, and honestly just better vibes. Like I do not deal with very many negative. It's so weird. Like current Yu-Gi-Oh is like very cultish in that like the top players and people want to attach themselves to that, but it creates a lot of negative subgroups and a lot of negative just vibes in general, and that's another reason I'd quit. I didn't want to be a part of that as much. I didn't like the person who was making me. But Edison's the exact opposite. It's like a bunch of grown men who have their stuff together, who just love how Yu-Gi-Oh used to be played, and honestly how I think it needs to be played. I would love to return to current if the game ever slowed down and the pricing got better. But I've won a YCS and my total pricing for winning was like 2 to 3K. I've topped a couple of YCSs where all I've done is gotten a mat after going X1 in Swiss, and then losing the first or second round of Top Cut. Whereas every single person who's gotten first place at these Time Wizard events have had the opportunity or have sold their prize cards for $5,000+. Their prize giant cards. Basically, it's a prize card that's just way cooler than a prize card because it's typically a one-of-one giant prize card, right? So, and yes, it does still have the same issue, whereas if you top and lose, like you're just getting a mat, but at least in the Time Wizard events, you're also getting tickets, where you can use that to buy additional prizing later on. Like I know me and a bunch of guys at YCS Indy, I know they've changed the rules since then, pooled our tickets together and bought a prize card with our pooled tickets. But even now, if you just go to events, play in these Time Wizard events, you're going to slowly accumulate tickets that way as well. And it's just weird because I never thought I'd be coming back to this game in a competitive fashion ever, just because it just progressively got worse for me. I will admit there's been blips. Like I didn't hate Sprite formats. I even a little bit in between 2021 when it was like, I don't know, I think it was like Drytron and Eldlick, and like a lot of people complain about those formats too, and I still think those formats are too powerful. But I didn't hate the game at that point. Like I said, I wasn't playing competitively, but I still mildly followed the game. And yeah, with Edison events, having RBETs, which are kind of like the ARGs of this era, having YCS-like events, the Ultimate Time Wizard events, and just the pace of the game being great, the prizing being better. I don't know. I just have a newfound love for this game. Hell, I made a YouTube channel because of it, and I'm just happy to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh again. It's so weird that everyone now is quitting, because I feel like I came to this realization and many others years prior. And I guess the biggest thing I have to say is if you still love the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, and these are the factors stopping you from playing, that I'd say give Time Wizard events a try, especially Edison having the Ultimate Time Wizard event currently, because I think you may have the same realization and same love as I do. It's not the greatest, but winning $6,000 is being basically twice as much as winning a YCS is really nice. The events are smaller, so typically we're starting at like 10, 11 o'clock, or starting at 11 o'clock, being done by 8 or 9 for day one, and then starting day 2 and being done by 2 p.m. It's just a lot different than current. It's less of a time investment. You don't have to be playing 40 plus hours a week to be good at the game, because though the format does evolve, the card pool doesn't change. So if you invest a good initial amount of time into the game, you can still live your life. Like that's another one of my issues. I work a full-time job. So it was really hard to keep up with current as the format changes so frequently, and the amount of card text on cards is, you know, absurd. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please, if you have not, try Edison format. Later.